He could have kept the money. No one would have known. But one cold decision on a rain-soaked sidewalk would connect a homeless teenager to a billionaire and rewrite both of their destinies forever. Before we begin, if stories that restore your faith in humanity move you, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a life-changing story from this channel. On the corner of 8th and Maple, beneath a flickering street lamp that buzzed like it was fighting to stay alive, 16-year-old Ethan Walker sat with his back against the cold brick wall of an abandoned pharmacy. November wind cut through the thin hoodie he had worn for 3 winters now. The sleeves were frayed at the cuffs. The knees of his jeans were stiff with old stains. Beside him rested a backpack containing everything he owned: 2 t-shirts, a dog-eared paperback novel, a half-broken toothbrush, and a small notebook he guarded like treasure. Ethan had not planned to be homeless. No child ever does. 3 years earlier, his father, Daniel Walker, had been a mechanic in a small Ohio town. His mother, Rebecca, worked nights at a nursing home. They were not wealthy, but there was laughter in their kitchen. There were Sunday pancakes. There were warm hugs before school. Then the factory closed. Daniel lost his job. Savings drained. Stress thickened the air in the house like smoke. Arguments turned sharp. Bills piled on the dining table. Rebecca's health declined under the weight of overtime shifts and exhaustion. When Daniel began drinking, the house stopped feeling safe. The night everything shattered was a Tuesday. Ethan still remembered the crash of a plate against the wall, the sound of his mother crying, the slurred shouting. He remembered stepping between them. He remembered being told to get out if he thought he was grown enough to interfere. So he did. At 13 years old, Ethan walked out with a backpack and the belief that he would come back once things cooled down. He never did. Homelessness did not look like what Ethan had imagined. It was not dramatic or loud. It was quiet hunger. It was pretending to browse in grocery stores for warmth. It was memorizing which public libraries allowed him to sit the longest before security asked questions. It was also kindness from unexpected places. Mrs. Thompson, the elderly librarian, noticed he came in every day after school hours. She never asked too many questions, but she would leave a granola bar on the corner of the desk when he passed by. Officer Ramirez, a patrol officer with kind eyes, sometimes stopped near Ethan's usual corner, not to arrest him, but to remind him which shelters had space that night. And then there was Marcus. Marcus Johnson was 23, tall and broad-shouldered, with a crooked smile and a past he rarely talked about. He had been on the streets since 17 and knew how to survive without losing his soul. He found Ethan digging through a trash bin behind a fast food restaurant. "You don't look like you belong in there," Marcus had said. "Neither do you," Ethan had replied. That was how friendship began. Marcus taught him which churches offered meals without lectures. He showed him how to keep important documents in plastic bags when it rained. He warned him which areas to avoid after dark. "You can be broke," Marcus once told him, "but don't ever let yourself be cheap. Your choices are worth more than whatever you're missing." Ethan did not understand then how deeply those words would matter. The rain that night came down in thin, icy sheets. Traffic splashed through puddles, headlights smearing across wet pavement. Ethan had just left the public library, where he had finished reading a biography of an inventor who had failed 30 times before success. He liked stories like that. They reminded him that failure did not mean final. As he crossed Maple Street, something black and rectangular caught his eye near the curb. At first, he thought it was trash. Then he saw the edge of leather. He stepped closer and picked it up. It was heavy. Inside were crisp $100 bills, so many that his breath caught. There were platinum credit cards, a driver's license, and a business card embossed with gold lettering, Charles Whitmore, Whitmore Industries. Ethan had heard that name before. Whitmore Industries owned half the manufacturing plants in the state. Charles Whitmore was on magazine covers, known for building an empire from nothing. The rain intensified. Cars rushed past. Ethan looked at the money again. He could eat for months. He could buy new clothes. He could afford a motel room. He could disappear from the cold. No one had seen him pick it up. No cameras. No witnesses. The wind howled. He thought of his father's voice the night he left. "If you think you're grown, then go be grown." He thought of his mother's tired smile when she used to say, "Character is who you are when nobody's watching." His stomach growled. He slid the wallet into his hoodie and ran. not away, but toward the address printed on the business card. Whitmore Estate sat behind iron gates at the top of Briar Hill. The property looked like something from a movie: columns, marble steps, trimmed hedges shaped like sculptures. Ethan stood at the gate, dripping wet. A security camera swiveled. "State your business," a voice crackled from a speaker. I found something," Ethan stammered. Minutes later, a tall woman in a tailored coat approached the gate. Her name was Angela Brooks, Charles Whitmore's executive assistant. She was efficient, composed, and accustomed to filtering out nonsense. Her eyes scanned Ethan: muddy shoes, soaked hoodie, trembling hands. "Yes?" she said cautiously. He held up the wallet. Her expression changed instantly. "Where did you get that?" "I found it on Maple Street." She unlocked the gate. "Wait here." Angela hurried inside. Charles Whitmore was 61 years old, silver-haired, sharp-eyed. He had built his fortune through calculated risks and relentless work. He trusted spreadsheets more than people. He had not realized his wallet was missing until Angela burst into his study. "Sir, someone found it." "Someone?" he repeated. "Yes, a teenager." Whitmore frowned. "Does he want money?" "He hasn't asked for anything." That intrigued him. "Bring him in." Ethan stepped into a world of polished floors and chandeliers. He felt small, like a stain on pristine fabric. Whitmore examined the wallet. Everything was intact. "You didn't take anything," he observed. "No, sir." "Why not?" The question hung in the air. Ethan swallowed. "Because it's not mine." Whitmore studied him longer than necessary. "What's your name?" "Ethan Walker." "Where do you live, Ethan?" Silence. Angela glanced at the boy more carefully now. "I don't," Ethan admitted. Whitmore leaned back in his chair. He had expected greed, maybe manipulation. Instead, he saw honesty wrapped in hardship. "How old are you?" 16. Whitmore felt something shift inside him, a memory he had not visited in decades. Long before the wealth and accolades, Charles Whitmore had once slept in his car. He had grown up poor, raised by a single mother who cleaned houses. At 17, he had nearly stolen from a grocery store to feed himself. He had been caught, but the store owner had not pressed charges. Instead, the man had given him a job. That act of mercy had changed his life. Standing before him now was a boy at a crossroads. Whitmore turned to Angela. "Get him dry clothes." Angela hesitated only a second before nodding. Whitmore faced Ethan again. "You returned something valuable. I don't believe in luck. I believe in choices. You made a good one." Ethan stared at the floor. Whitmore continued, "Would you be willing to tell me your story?" Over hot tea and borrowed sweatpants, Ethan spoke. He did not dramatize. He did not beg. He spoke about the factory closing, the fights, the night he left, the shelters, Marcus, the library, the notebook he carried everywhere. "What's in the notebook?" Whitmore asked. "My ideas," Ethan said quietly. Whitmore raised an eyebrow. "Ideas? For machines, fixes, improvements. I like figuring out how things work." Whitmore exchanged a look with Angela. "Bring me the notebook," he said. Ethan hesitated but handed it over. Inside were sketches, crude but thoughtful designs for improving engine efficiency, recycling heat from factory exhaust, simplifying conveyor systems. Whitmore flipped through pages slowly. These were not random doodles. They were thoughtful. Angela noticed his expression soften. "Ethan," Whitmore said carefully, "how would you feel about going back to school?" Ethan's heart thudded. "I'd like that." "And having a place to stay?" He blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "I don't give charity," Whitmore clarified. "I invest. You return my wallet. Consider this my investment in your integrity." Whitmore did not simply hand Ethan money and send him away. He called his friend, Dr. Laura Bennett, principal of Westbridge Academy, a private school known for rigorous academics. Laura was a firm woman with kind eyes. When Whitmore explained the situation, she did not hesitate. "Bring him tomorrow," she said. Meanwhile, Angela coordinated temporary housing at a small apartment, owned by the company for interns. Marcus watched in disbelief as Ethan packed his few belongings. You sure about this? Marcus asked. I think so, Ethan said, though fear churned inside him. Marcus clasped his shoulder. Then don't waste it. Mrs. Thompson at the library cried when Ethan told her. I always knew you were more than your circumstances, she said, pressing a new journal into his hands. Officer Ramirez shook his hand. Proud of you, kid. One honest act had begun to ripple outward, touching more lives than Ethan realized. Westbridge Academy was intimidating. Students wore blazers. They arrived in luxury cars. Conversations revolved around ski trips and internships abroad. Ethan arrived on a bus. Whispers followed him at first. Some students noticed his thrift store clothes. Others heard rumors that he was the homeless kid the billionaire adopted. But not everyone judged. Sophia Reed, captain of the Robotics Club, approached him after physics class. I heard you like machines, she said. He nodded cautiously. We could use someone who actually thinks differently, she smiled. In robotics lab, Ethan came alive. He solved problems others overlooked. He reconfigured designs using scrap parts. Sophia admired his resourcefulness. Dr. Bennett kept a close eye on him, not out of suspicion, but out of care. She arranged tutoring when he struggled with advanced math. She ensured he had counseling support to process his past. Whitmore checked in monthly, always asking about grades, but also about character. Success without integrity, he told Ethan once, is just failure in disguise. Growth is rarely linear. One afternoon, Ethan spotted his father outside the school gates. Daniel Walker looked older, tired, ashamed. They stared at each other across years of silence. I heard about you, Daniel said gruffly. Saw it in the paper. That billionaire. Ethan felt anger and longing collide inside him. I didn't mean for you to leave, Daniel muttered. You told me to, Ethan replied quietly. Daniel's eyes filled with regret. I was drowning. For the first time, Ethan saw not a monster, but a broken man. They did not fix everything that day, but they spoke. And that was a beginning. 3 years passed. Ethan graduated top of his class. Whitmore Industries offered him a scholarship to study mechanical engineering. During his second year of college, a scandal hit Whitmore Industries. A senior executive had been manipulating reports to inflate profits. Stock prices plummeted. Media swarmed. Whitmore, now older and wearier, faced one of the toughest battles of his career. Ethan, interning at the company, discovered additional irregularities in supply chain data, mistakes that could either expose deeper issues or be quietly buried. He stood again at a crossroads. Silence would protect his mentor. Truth could cause temporary damage. He remembered the rain, the wallet, the choice. He walked into Whitmore's office. There's more, he said, placing the documents on the desk. Whitmore studied them. You understand what this means? He asked. Yes, sir. Whitmore nodded slowly. Then we fix it, completely. The company endured short-term losses, but transparency restored public trust. Whitmore later told Angela, that boy saved me twice. Years later, Ethan Walker stood at a podium in a renovated community center on 8th and Maple, the very corner where he once slept. The building now housed a youth innovation lab funded by Whitmore Industries and led by Ethan himself. Marcus worked there as a mentor, helping teens navigate life off the streets. Mrs. Thompson volunteered to run a reading room. Officer Ramirez coordinated outreach programs. Dr. Bennett sat in the front row, smiling proudly. Charles Whitmore, older now and walking with a cane, watched from beside Angela. Ethan addressed the crowd. People think destiny changes in grand moments, he said, but sometimes it changes when you decide not to take what isn't yours. He paused. I was homeless. I was hungry. I was angry. But someone once showed mercy to a struggling teenager. That mercy built an empire. And one rainy night, integrity connected 2 stories. He looked at Whitmore. One honest act doesn't just change your future, it changes everyone connected to it. Applause filled the room. Whitmore leaned toward Angela. Best investment I ever made. Angela smiled. He returned more than your wallet, sir. After the ceremony, Ethan stepped outside. The street lamp no longer flickered. The pharmacy was gone, replaced by the bright community center sign. Daniel Walker approached slowly. "I'm proud of you," his father said. Ethan nodded. They were still rebuilding. Healing takes time. But there was progress. Marcus joined them, laughing about a group of teens arguing over robot designs. Life was not perfect, but it was purposeful. Ethan looked up at the night sky, remembering the cold pavement, the rain, the choice. Destiny had not been handed to him. It had been shaped by integrity, by community, by courage in small, unseen moments. And somewhere in the city, another teenager might be standing at a crossroads, unaware that one decision could ripple outward for years to come. Because sometimes the smallest act of honesty can open doors wealth never could. And sometimes returning a lost wallet returns something even greater: hope.